When an oil tanker spills and thousands of seabirds wash up, drenched in crude, the rescuers who clean them reach for one thing: a blue bottle of Dawn. That's right, the same soap sitting by your kitchen sink is trusted to save wildlife after major spills. So, if it can strip oil off a soaked duckling without hurting it, just imagine what it can do around your house. Grab a bottle and let's get into it. Number 1. Wipe out a flea infestation overnight. Before you spend $40 on flea bombs and chemical foggers, try the trick exterminators don't want you to know about. All you need is a shallow dish, some warm water, a few drops of Dawn, and a small nightlight or lamp positioned right above it. Here's why it works, and it's honestly kind of genius. Fleas are drawn to warmth and light because that's how they hunt for a host in the dark. So when you set that glowing dish on the floor at night, the fleas jump straight toward it. Now normally a flea can hit water and bounce right back out because water has a natural skin on top called surface tension. But Dawn is a surfactant, which is a fancy word for a substance that shatters that surface tension. The second a flea lands in your soapy dish, it can't float or spring away. It sinks and drowns. Set one of these traps in every room where your pets hang out and leave them overnight. By morning, you'll see exactly how bad the problem is, because those little dark specks floating in the water are your infestation. It won't replace treating your pet directly, but it's a shockingly effective way to knock down the population and monitor whether you're winning the war for pennies. Number 2. Make your own windshield deicer. If you've ever stood in a freezing driveway at 7 a.m., scraping your windshield with a credit card because you couldn't find the ice scraper, this one's going to change your winter. Mix a few drops of Dawn with about a cup of rubbing alcohol and a couple cups of water in a spray bottle and keep it in your car. When your windshield ices over, just spray it down and watch the ice start sliding off almost instantly. The heavy lifting here is done by the rubbing alcohol, which has a much lower freezing point than water and melts the ice on contact. But the Dawn plays a crucial supporting role. It helps the solution spread evenly across the whole glass instead of beating up in spots, and it leaves behind a thin film that makes it harder for new ice to grip the surface. Just don't pour boiling water on a frozen windshield, as some people suggest, because that sudden temperature shock can actually crack the glass. This cold spray is the safe way to do it. One bottle of this stuff costs a fraction of the name brand deicer sprays at the auto store, and it works just as well. Number 3. Fog-proof your mirrors, glasses, and goggles. This is a trick that scuba divers and skiers have used for years, and almost nobody else knows about it. A single drop of Dawn can keep glass from fogging up. You know the frustration. You step out of a hot shower and the bathroom mirror is a useless gray blur. Your glasses fog the second you walk into a warm room. Your ski goggles turn milky halfway down the mountain. That fog is just thousands of tiny water droplets condensing on the surface and scattering light. Here's the fix. Put a tiny drop of Dawn on a dry cloth, rub it over the glass in a thin layer, then buff it off until it's clear. That leaves behind an invisible film of surfactant. Remember how Dawn breaks surface tension? On a foggy mirror, that means the water can no longer beat into those little droplets. Instead, it spreads into a flat, transparent sheet you can see right through. Do this to your bathroom mirror, and it'll stay clear through your entire shower. Do it to the inside of your car windshield, and you'll cut down on that annoying interior fog. It's the same science behind expensive anti-fog sprays, except you already own it. Number 4. Build a reusable ice pack that actually molds to you. Store-bought gel packs are overpriced, they crack, and the second you need one for a twisted ankle, you cannot find it. So make your own and make it better. Grab a zip-top freezer bag and fill it with a mixture of about 2 parts water to 1 part Dawn. Squeeze the air out, seal it, and toss it in the freezer. Here's the magic. It never freezes into a solid brick. Because dish soap has a lower freezing point than plain water, the whole thing sets into a cold, slushy gel that stays soft and floppy. That's exactly what you want in an ice pack. A rock-hard block of ice will not wrap around your knee or your shoulder, but this squishy gel pack molds perfectly to whatever body part you are icing. It stays cold for a good long while, and when you are done, you just throw it back in the freezer to use again and again. For a couple of cents of dish soap, you have got a better ice pack than the pharmacy sells. Just label the bag clearly so nobody mistakes it for a snack, and keep it away from kids and pets. Number 5. Unclog a toilet without touching a plunger. This is the one that plumbers quietly use, and it can save you from a genuinely miserable situation. If your toilet is clogged and you do not have a plunger, or the plunger just is not cutting it, Dawn can bail you out. Squirt a generous amount of Dawn, we are talking maybe half a cup, directly into the clogged bowl and let it sit for 10 or 15 minutes. As the thick, slippery soap sinks down through the water, it coats the clog and acts as a lubricant, greasing the whole blockage so it can slide free. After it has had time to work, pour in a bucket of hot water from about waist height. That falling water adds pressure. The heat helps soften whatever is stuck, and the Dawn lets it all slip down and clear the drain. One big warning: use hot water, not boiling water. Boiling water poured into a porcelain toilet can crack the bowl, and now you have got a much bigger and much more expensive problem. Stick with hot tap water, give it a few minutes, and in a lot of cases, the clog just melts away on its own. Number 6. Whip up a garden pest spray that costs almost nothing. If aphids, mites, or whiteflies are chewing up your plants, you don't need a shelf full of toxic chemicals. A little Dawn turns into a powerful insecticidal soap. Mix a couple teaspoons of Dawn into a quart of water. Pour it into a spray bottle and mist it directly onto the soft-bodied bugs eating your garden. The soap works by breaking down the protective outer coating and cell membranes of these tiny pests, which causes them to dry out and die. It's the same principle as the fancy insecticidal soaps at the garden center, which are essentially just diluted detergent. A few smart rules though, because you can absolutely overdo this. Always test it on one leaf first and wait a day, since a mix that's too strong can burn certain plants. Spray in the early morning or evening rather than under blazing midday sun, which can scorch wet leaves. And aim for the bugs directly, especially the undersides of leaves where they love to hide. Do it right, and you'll clear an aphid problem for the price of a splash of soap, while the pricey stuff sits untouched at the store. Number 7. Kill the weeds growing in your driveway cracks. You know those stubborn weeds that shove their way up through the cracks in your driveway, patio, and walkway? Dawn is the secret ingredient that makes homemade weed killer actually work. The classic recipe is vinegar and salt, and both of those genuinely dry out and kill weeds. But there's a catch. On their own, they tend to just run right off the waxy, water-repellent surface of the leaves. That's where Dawn comes in. Add a squirt of it to your vinegar and salt mix, and, because it's a surfactant, it lets the solution cling to the leaves and soak in instead of beating up and dripping away. The soap is the delivery system that makes the whole thing stick. Now, an honest heads up, this mixture is non-selective, meaning it will kill just about any plant it touches, so keep it off your lawn and flower beds. And the salt can build up in the soil over time, so this is strictly for cracks, gravel, and pavement where you don't want anything growing ever. Spray it on a hot, sunny day for the fastest results, and watch those sidewalk weeds shrivel. Number 8. Lift ugly oil stains right off your concrete. That dark, greasy stain your car leaves on the garage floor or driveway looks permanent. It isn't. Remember, Dawn's entire claim to fame is cutting through oil, and concrete is no match for it. For a fresh spill, sprinkle something absorbent over it first, like cat litter or baking soda, and let it soak up the excess oil before you scrub. Then squirt Dawn directly onto the stain, pour on some hot water, and scrub hard with a stiff bristled brush. The soap surrounds the oil molecules and lifts them up out of the porous concrete so you can rinse them away. For older set-in stains, make a thick paste of Dawn and baking soda, spread it over the spot, and let it sit for a while before scrubbing and rinsing. You may have to repeat it a couple of times for a really stubborn, years-old stain, but it genuinely works, and it costs a tiny fraction of the specialized concrete degreasers sold at the hardware store. The same trick pulls oil stains off your garage floor, your patio pavers, and even the driveway apron by the street. Number 9. Rescue greasy stains from your clothes. Before you throw out a shirt with a grease spot or spend money on a fancy stain stick, reach for the Dawn. It's arguably the best grease stain remover you already own. Salad dressing, bacon fat, butter, cooking oil, that mysterious ring around the collar, even oily makeup. These are all grease-based stains, and grease is exactly what Dawn was engineered to destroy. Put a small drop of Dawn directly on the stain, gently work it into the fabric with your fingers or a soft toothbrush, and let it sit for a few minutes so it can break down the oil. Then wash the garment like normal. In most cases, the stain lifts clean away, even ones that survived a previous trip through the laundry. A quick tip: it's best to test it on a hidden spot first if the fabric is delicate or brightly dyed, and skip it on dry clean-only pieces. But for everyday cotton, denim, and kids' clothes covered in whatever they had for lunch, a dab of Dawn outperforms products that cost 5 or 6 times as much and are, when you read the label, mostly just detergent anyway. Number 10. Set a trap that ends your fruit fly problem. If your kitchen has been taken over by a cloud of fruit flies or gnats hovering around the fruit bowl, here's a 2-ingredient trap that clears them out fast. Pour a little apple cider vinegar into a bowl or glass, then add a single drop of Dawn and give it the gentlest stir so you don't create a bunch of suds. The vinegar is the bait. Fruit flies are irresistibly drawn to that sweet fermented smell, so they dive bomb toward the surface. And here's where our old friend surface tension comes back one more time. Normally, a fruit fly could land on the liquid, take a sip, and fly off because that surface skin holds their tiny weight. But the drop of Dawn destroys the surface tension completely, so instead of resting safely on top, the flies break right through and sink. Set a couple of these little traps around your kitchen, near the trash can, the fruit bowl, and the sink, and leave them out overnight. By the next morning, you'll have collected the bulk of them. It's cleaner, cheaper, and far less annoying than swatting at the air all week, and it works on the gnats in your houseplants too. Number 11. Wash away poison ivy before it wrecks your week. Save this one for your next hike or yard cleanup because it could spare you from days of miserable, itchy blisters. If you've brushed up against poison ivy, poison oak, or poison sumac, Dawn is one of the best things you can grab. The reason those plants make you break out is an oily resin on their leaves called urushiol. It's an oil, and by now you know that oil is Dawn's mortal enemy. That itchy rash only develops after the urushiol has had time to bond with your skin, so the whole game is washing it off fast, ideally within a couple of hours of contact. Plain hand soap often just smears the oil around, but Dawn is a strong degreaser built to strip oil away. Lather the exposed skin thoroughly with Dawn and cool water and rinse well, and you have a real shot at removing the resin before the reaction sets in. And don't stop at your skin. That invisible oil clings to everything it touched. Your gardening gloves, your tools, your boots, even your dog's fur, and can give you a rash days later. Wash all of it down with Dawn so it can't ambush you the next time you pick it up. So the next time you spot that little blue bottle by the sink, remember it's a whole toolbox in disguise. Try a few of these out and see just how much money you've been throwing away on stuff you never needed. Thanks for watching. If this saved you a trip to the store, smash that like button and share it with a friend. And hit subscribe so you never miss a video.